Nintendo's approach to controller design has certainly changed over the years. In this video, we're going to talk about some of the best, worst, and fantastical design choices Nintendo has made with their controllers. But before we get started, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor Raid Shadow Legends, the dark fantasy RPG game that's taking the world by storm. Who remembers the simple days of Nintendo, when we had no analog sticks, no shoulder buttons, and had to hold a rectangle box to truly enjoy a grip? Yep, Nintendo was always about innovation, and they started off strong with the original NES controller. After years of Atari controllers and arcades dominating the video game world with joysticks and large button layouts, Nintendo helped make the D-pad mainstream. Unfortunately, the controller was hard to grip for long periods of time, simply because there was nothing to grip. Of course, Nintendo knew this, and die-hard gamers who spent hours playing Super Mario 3 or The Legend of Zelda likely purchased the NES Max. The official controller felt like a glimpse into the future. Extended handles provided extra grip, and the D-pad was replaced with a design very similar to an analog stick. Unfortunately, the NES Max controller did not catch on, and was overshadowed by releases like the Power Glove. Even though the classic NES controller gives us those nostalgic feels, things made a turn for the better with the release of the Dog Bone, better known as the SNES controller. Competing against the Sega Genesis, Nintendo increased the number of buttons, introduced shoulder buttons, and added rounded edges to the design. Basically, Nintendo didn't have to do much in their early days. People cared more about the games than the controllers they played the games on. Things changed with the introduction of the PlayStation. Not only did the PlayStation create a new standard for gaming controllers, but their CD-based console boasted 3D graphics never before seen in a home console. Sure, Nintendo could have extended the grips on the SNES controller and called it a day, but they chose to think outside the box and created one of the ugliest controllers ever made, the Nintendo 64 controller. Nintendo took a huge gamble with a three-pronged controller, and players had a lot of questions. Do you need 3 hands to use this controller? Which grips do you grab? And why does the letter C deserve 4 separate buttons when A and B only get 1? Yeah, people still hate on that controller today, but the N64 laid the groundwork for how they would approach all controllers in the future. The controller was made with Nintendo's unique game development in mind, and the main focus here is right on the middle prong. The analog stick was for more than just fluid movements. The N64 was able to detect fast movements and slow movements, all based on how the analog stick rotated. The best examples come from Super Mario 64 and Mario's speed as he explores the 3D world. Players were still used to the D-pad at that point, so leaving the traditional directional controls was essential, especially for third-party developers. Before we dive into the world of controllers, let us tell you about a game which needs no controller at all, just the tap of your fingers. We're talking about the free-to-play Raid Shadow Legends, a cross-platform game available for PC, Android, and iOS. Challenge yourself in the ongoing tournaments. Take your team of heroes in multiple 5-on-5 battles before you reach the dungeon boss. Tap and click, change angles, and watch the awesome animations as your heroes battle and fight. Quickly alternate between the heroes as you build a strategy and claim victory. And don't forget the Raid Patch 1.15 update is coming in May, and with it you'll be able to compete in the brand new Arena Tournament. Earn points according to your tier, and win exciting rewards in the local and global tournament. Why start now? Because Raid Shadow Legends is offering exclusive bonuses for first-time players. We're talking about 100,000 silver, 1 energy refill, a 1-day XP boost, and a free champion, the Executioner. Just look at this guy. The stuff of nightmares will actually be battling on your side. So what are you waiting for? You only have 30 days to collect the new player bonus in the Raid Shadow Legends inbox. So check out the link in the description, grab your favorite device, and get started in Raid Shadow Legends. Maybe we'll meet you in the battlefield. While the N64 thrived in the gaming market, Sony and Microsoft were coming in strong and setting new standards for controllers players would come to expect for years. Shortly after the PlayStation 1 took off, Sony introduced the DualShock controller. 2 analog sticks not only allowed for movements but precise camera controls. Microsoft released the Xbox in 2001, and we all experienced one of the bulkiest controllers of all time, with the aptly nicknamed Duke. Now, Microsoft didn't want us to play games like we were holding a quarter pounder with cheese. Their original controller design was kind of an accident when large control boards were manufactured before the final design was complete. The happy little accident actually led to the mismatched position of the analog sticks, which has become one of the more popular ways to hold a controller. Naturally, Microsoft has stuck with pretty much the same controller format since their early days. The company prides itself on the consistency, and fans easily adapt to new systems and games because of it. The Xbox analog stick design helped influence Nintendo's next controller release, the official GameCube controller. The GameCube controller is beloved, but not so easy on the eyes. The whole design is essentially a warped cousin of the N64 controller, with no prongs in sight. The C buttons were replaced with a smaller C analog stick, and the circular extensions on the bottom of the controller presented ideal places to rest the thumbs. In short, the GameCube controller played things pretty safe, although the design definitely stands out when paired up against the DualShock and Xbox controllers. Well, Nintendo would not stop there. With innovation came the need for a new controller, the Wii Remote. No grips, no analog sticks, unless you had the nunchuck attached. A return to the traditional A and B buttons with the back trigger thrown in for good measure. What was Nintendo thinking? All about the games. The key to the success of the Wii was the motion controls, and that little sensor on the top of the remote became way more important than an analog stick or rumble control. Nintendo has spent years immersing players in games. The N64 Rumble Pack was a popular add-on that made a WWE Body Slam feel real, or a Mario Kart Crash actually have impact. The Wii Remote didn't need fancy buttons because it built upon a player's imagination to get the job done. In a matter of minutes, you could be swinging a lightsaber, reeling in a fish, or bowling a strike. And the add-on accessories helped make those all feel like a reality. Controller extenders were available for FPS games, sports games, and titles like Link's Crossbow Training. The imagination involved with the remote made the thing a success, not the grips or button mapping. Nintendo didn't need to compete with the PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 because they now entered their own world. As video game use increased, Sony and Microsoft began implementing designs which catered to the comfort and health of a player. Improvements are constantly being made to prevent aches and the onset of problems like arthritis. While Nintendo wants controllers to be comfortable, they do not need a complete focus on health. Because no matter what type of controller you use, extended periods of games always hurt the hands. We will simply never have the perfect controller for hand health. That element is more about the player's need to rest and take care of themselves responsibly. To this end, Nintendo isn't seeking out the professional gamer or marathon gaming. If anything, Nintendo needed to focus more on the Wii Remote from damaging televisions when they flew out of people's hands. Then the Wii U came out and completely changed the way we perceived controllers. Sure, in portable mode it was nice to have a screen to play on, but holding the giant tablet to play on the TV wasn't always the best option. In hindsight, the Wii U pretty much just laid the groundwork for the Nintendo Switch. All of the ideas were there, just not executed well enough to the console's capabilities. And if we didn't like the bulky nature of the Wii U tablet, well, Nintendo would certainly show us with their itty-bitty Joy-Con controllers. The controllers are strong, feature no grips, but could be used in multiple ways. The versatility of the Joy-Con had never been seen in a video game controller before. Use them vertically on the system, horizontally on their own, or connected to a controller grip. The Joy-Con feels like a hybrid of everything Nintendo has released over the years, with a little bit of GameCube, N64, and Wii all tossed into the mix. And the gamble paid off. When the Switch first got released, the Joy-Cons became a huge focal point of the system, even more so than some of the launch games. And there are so many shortfalls with the expensive little accessory, but Nintendo can use their open experiment to build games off of and keep players hooked. Just like the Wii Remote, the Joy-Con could be used to really engage players in games. And in this case, the Joy-Cons are ideal for engaging multiplayer games. Split the Joy-Cons into two separate controllers for both portable and TV use. The pairing is quick and simple, avoiding delays and excessive problems. Plus, Nintendo could take chances with their controllers because they always had a backup. Constantly getting tangled in the Wii Remote and Nunchuck? Well, just plug in a GameCube controller or Wii Classic controller and you were good to go. Hated the Wii U tablet? Well, all of the Wii Remotes worked with that console. Now more than ever, you can have a variety of official controllers for the Switch. Nintendo even released a Bluetooth version of the NES controller for the Switch. They always give players options, allowing them to experiment and release new controllers with the base system. Plus, what an easy way to increase profits. Joy-Con controllers too small for your hands? Simply purchase the Switch Pro controller. Cha-ching. So, when a Switch Pro eventually arrives, will we see all new Joy-Cons? Yeah. Will we have to get used to the new layout and features? Probably. Will we still get to use the Joy-Cons we're already used to? Most likely. And that's just the way Nintendo likes to roll. Okay, we'll admit it, we still love the GameCube controller, and we use it with the Switch as much as possible. What's your favorite controller? Was the N64 controller a disaster, or do you miss it? What's your favorite third-party controller? Well, let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer for more great content.